Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. It has been a minute since I have done an OG skincare comparison review video like this, but when I saw the Colorescience launch that I'm going to be talking about, I knew immediately I needed to dust off this series and pick it back up again because this is really, really cool. So if you've been around since the beginning, then you will know that I used to be obsessed with the Colorescience Sunforgettable Total Protection Face Shield. I can't even say it because it's such a mouthful. Total Protection Face Shield Sunscreen. I got it. Moving on. And it's a great option, but since I have started to test out so many other sunscreens, I've kind of stopped being as obsessed with this as I once was because there's so many other good ones. But they recently launched another sunscreen in their Sunforgettable range called their Total Protection Face Shield Flex, because this is supposed to flex or adapt to your skin tone as you are blending in to match your skin tone perfectly, allegedly. So in this video, we will do a deep dive comparison between the new Flex sunscreen and the original sunscreen. So we'll talk formulation, blendability, look and feel on the skin, color and coverage. We'll really take a look at that Flex technology because I actually have two shades of Flex here. I have fair and medium, which I feel like helps us to kind of investigate that claim a little more closely, if you know what I mean. So of course I'll do close-up swatches, honestly, of all three. We'll talk ingredients. Nothing's gonna be left behind, you guys. We will cover it all. I always set these down before I'm done talking. So if you've been curious about the new Flex formulation, wanna hear my thoughts, and wanna see how it compares to the original, you've come to the right spot. We're gonna jump right into that. Before we do, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment below, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for doing all of those things. It really helps to support my channel with the YouTube algorithm. Instagram and TikTok handle are right here, and my Lightroom preset filters for editing Instagram photos are listed in my description box below, along with links, discount codes, and everything else that you may need to know. All right, let's jump into it. Okay, so let's just start off by quickly talking about some product specs and details so that we can get an expectation for what we can expect. That's what an expectation is. We can get a feel for what we can expect to see in using this product. So this is part of their Sunforgettable Total Protection Face Shield range, which now has this Flex formula plus the original, which we're gonna do a side-by-side with, and their Glow formula and Bronze formula as well. And now that I'm saying that out loud, I actually did post a video last summer where I compared the original to the Glow to the Bronze. So if you've been wanting to see those side by side, if you've been torn between the three, I'll list that below. I forgot I had that. This is an SPF 50. Thank goodness, we love an SPF 50. And it says it's a lightweight mineral sunscreen with tinted color coverage that immediately evens skin tone for a flawless look with a hydrating, antioxidant-rich, all-mineral formulation. And their Flex technology features innovative iron oxide pigments that bloom in your fingertips to deliver tone-adapting, buildable color coverage with a demi-matte finish. They say that this is available in 4 uniquely flexible shades that are each ideal for a broad range of skin tones and undertones, and that if you're not sure between 2 shades which one to get, they recommend getting the lighter shade, which I find interesting. So the 4 different shades that they have are fair, medium, tan, and deep. Again, the shades that I personally have that will swatch are fair and medium, but looking at the color swatches initially, I was like, they seem to be missing a dark option next to the deep. And then when I look at the arm swatches that they have, I'm like, yeah, where's the representation for extra deep or dark skin next to what they have as the deepest option? Seems to be missing. I know that they say that this is supposed to work for a broad range of skin tones, but where's our extra dark skin tone arm there? Hello? Like, I feel like I should not even have to say that in 2021, but here we are. So would love to see an additional extra dark shade from them. And I mean, we'll see how the fair one performs. That might not even feel light enough for those that are extra, extra, extra fair. So that's all I'm gonna say. We're gonna keep an eye on it as we test them out. But a couple other specs about this that are not related to shade. This is water resistant up to 40 minutes, which is great, reef safe, and cruelty free. And when we compare that to the original formulation, they have a lot of the same claims as far as the hydrating and antioxidant properties of the formula, so more related to those ingredients. But when it comes to the tint and color and coverage, this is not supposed to be the same type of thing actually. So this one says that it has a weightless texture and that it's lightly tinted, but it's intended to blend in sheer. So when you typically think of a tinted sunscreen, you're thinking of something that kind of has a warmer, deeper undertone and gives you a little bit of color to the skin. The tint is really just meant to kind of eliminate any white cast that would be present from zinc oxide. So it truly is designed to be sheer on the skin and not tinted. And this is supposed to give you a natural bare-faced finish, kind of skin-like glow, whereas this one again is supposed to be demi-matte. Now let's quickly touch on ingredients. So because this claims to kind of be a pretty drastic change in formulation and coverage to the original, I was a little bit nervous that we were going to be getting something completely different, but they actually have nearly identical ingredient labels. So it makes sense that they have such similar claims about hydration and antioxidant support because they have all of those sorts of ingredients in common. So these are both SPF 50 sunscreens with 12% zinc oxide to give you that UV protection. Great option for those of you with sensitive skin that are easily irritated by chemical filters. Plus you get the additional benefit of iron oxides, which are going to give you protection from blue light. And then again, a lot of the same skin loving ingredients like I was saying before. So things like niacinamide, vitamin E, lipochromin, bisabolol, and snow mushroom extract. Okay, so to get a close-up feel of these formulas, we're gonna do a little squeeze of the Flex on the back of my hand right there. And then next to it, we'll do the original formulation. So they actually initially look pretty comparable as far as how liquidy they are. This Flex formula, I mean, it doesn't necessarily feel thicker. There's almost just like a slight creaminess to it that the original formulation doesn't have, but it still does feel lightweight. I can tell though, just from blending, that the Flex has more of a demi-matte finish because when I am blending in this original formulation, it just feels a little bit wetter. But I do feel like they're actually really comparable once they're blended in as far as the actual thickness and consistency goes. So I'm gonna start off by putting the Flex formulation on my face, and we will do the fair shade on the left side of my face and the medium shade on the right side of my face. So you can see a side-by-side comparison of those shades. So obviously it looks completely white at first, but it really does start to transform nicely into a shade that I would say is pretty much spot on for my natural skin tone. And it honestly feels so nice and silky and smooth to blend into the skin. It feels really good. So there you can see it starting to flex, really take form, and I do have slightly warm toned skin when I'm fully fair, and I do feel like it completely picks up on that. It's not something that I feel is leaning too cool for me or anything like that. I do think it really is such a good match. It's honestly very impressive. Okay, so here's the difference between the fair shade and my natural skin tone. I will say that this is just ever so slightly lighter, but it's really not that noticeable. I think it's pretty close to spot on. And the level of coverage I would say is light with one application. Like you can still see my moles and everything, but I would say a good sheer to light. Okay, we're gonna add a second application because that is what I always do in real life. So we can see how this coverage builds and if the color changes or anything like that. So let's go to town here. The one thing that I will say, I think that, you know, it's slightly because of this Flex technology and the fact that it starts off whiter and then changes in color, is that I do sometimes notice streaking with this if I'm not super careful in the way that I blend it. So you can kind of see, like, you want to make sure that you are taking your time to properly blend that in. Otherwise you kind of end up with some streaks and it just won't be the most flawless application. Like, it's not necessarily something you could slap on and have it look perfect right away, but it's very easy to blend the streaks out once you notice them. Okay, so here is with that second application. So This, I would say, is completely medium coverage at this point. Like, oh my goodness, it's so flawless. It really does even out the skin tone. The mold that I have here is a lot more camouflage now, but not completely covered. So I would not say that this is full coverage from the get. You'd probably have to add at least 3 layers to get there. The downside to that would be that you would definitely start to feel this sitting on the skin, and it would probably feel heavy at this point, because even with that second application, I'm like, yeah, it's not my favorite as far as how it feels, because it doesn't feel completely traceless or weightless at that point, but I would say it still does feel relatively lightweight. Like, this doesn't feel heavy on my skin. I could just imagine with a 3rd layer, I really would not like that. But I think it looks beautiful. I don't think that the color changes at all with the second application, but if anything, I think it just makes me realize that, yeah, it's a little bit too pasty. You guys watching are probably like, oh my god, it's a perfect match. I'm gonna just make myself feel better and say it's a little too pasty, and I prefer to not be pastier than I already am, but I mean, pretty great. Pretty great. Okay, so now we are going to go in with the medium shade on the right side of my face so that we can really see the difference in those tones. So you can see right away that that one starts to transform a little bit darker, whereas I feel like with that fair shade, because it's lighter, you're like, is this even working? But this right away, we can see that kind of flex taking action. Yeah, see what I mean in here? It's not the most streak-free formulation. It does feel really good though. So this shade, I will tell you, this is the one that I have been wearing because I rock self-tanner in the summer months, pretty much because I'm always reviewing self-tanner for you guys, like every single week a new one. And I like my face to just match my body a little bit more closely than it does without. So I actually just totally fudged up my self-tanner this week. Don't judge me, my neck is too light. Like, look at how dark my arms are, my orange elbow. But like, see what I mean? If I had balanced that out perfectly, this is a much better match for that. Whereas the other side, it's like, wait a minute, what's going on there? So that is one application. Again, I would say very nice light coverage. And there is the second application. So again, I don't think it got darker. It just allowed us to get to more of a medium coverage. Very, very flawless. Oh my gosh, I can't get over it. And this shade is beautiful. I really love the undertone. I mean, I'd be so curious to see if this leaned more cool on someone that's cool toned, but I love the fact that it does lean warm like my skin tone, but it's not orange. Like, I would never look at this and be like, ugh, that's way too orange, like a lot of other tinted sunscreens that I've tried. So let's get a little close up of these two shades side by side so that we can see the difference. All right, so I went ahead and removed the medium shade on the right side of my face because we are going to go ahead and apply the original formulation there. And I left on the fair shade so that we can do a comparison there. Thought it would be better to compare the lighter of the two since this one is not tinted. So as you can see, this one does not have any of that intense whiteness going on, but it also really doesn't have any sort of colored tint. It's just that slight peachiness to it that does help to fully remove the white cast once it's blended in. I mean, this one feels so nice when you're blending it in. I would say equally as nice and soft. It does feel just more hydrating because it is a more hydrating formulation, but oh, feels so, so nice. So that's one application, definitely completely sheer. Let's go ahead and add a second to do a fair comparison. The one thing that I will say about this though is as you start to add a second application or reapply, it starts to just feel a little bit almost tacky on the skin. I wouldn't say it feels sticky, but you know, it's just a little bit more wet than I would like it to be for just my oily skin. And I mean, makes sense why they now say that this is for dry skin. And here is the second application. So again, this is not supposed to have a tint to it, but obviously it's not the exact same color as my natural skin tone before we applied it. But even so, I like this color better on my skin than this one. Like, seeing them side by side, I'm like, yes, this does not make me look quite as ghostly. You know, we can just see that looking a little more alive here. Okay, I really want us to get a real feel for the finish of the formulation, so I shut off my beauty lights because they're very bright and just enhance any glow that's already there. So now this is just natural light. Hopefully it works out in the editing because it's getting to be a little bit later at night, but here is that original formulation. Very, very dewy on the skin, definitely a radiant finish, great for dry skin. Whereas this one, I mean, it still has a glow. It's not like it's flat on the skin. It's just more of a natural finish compared to something like this, which is like, woo! For me, looking almost slightly oily. So there we have the original and the Flex. So this is actually a really difficult final comparison to make because these are quite different products at the end of the day, and I think are made for completely different types of people. The original, I think, is going to be for those of you that don't want color or coverage, really nothing at all. You don't want to look like you have makeup on, but you want something that's going to give you a very healthy glow and great protection and feel nice on the skin as well. Best suited for dry skin in my opinion, and is not going to be for those of you that are looking for something that either helps to mattify the skin or feels completely weightless, because after trying sunscreens that I truly feel are weightless, I don't think that this one is anymore. But the Flex formulation, on the other hand, is going to be for those of you that actually want that color and that coverage, and you basically want to replace your makeup with sunscreen. That is exactly what this is, and I honestly don't think I found anything quite like this. An SPF 50 that gives you that level of color and coverage. I genuinely think this is the first thing that I've tried like it. So a really innovative, unique product. I think it's great. I love the finish, like I said. I do just wish that it was slightly lighter weight so that with reapplication, it just wouldn't feel like heavy and like you're clogging your pores, you know what I mean? So if everything that I just described is what you have been looking for in a sunscreen, you will be obsessed with this. This truly is so great. Do I think that there is a clear winner between these two? I don't, because it completely depends on what you're looking for and what you're interested in, because for some of you, this would be your worst nightmare, and same thing with this, you know? Like, these are for two different people. Little sister, big sister, natural, little more into coverage. But that is it for this comparison review. I do think that these are both great sunscreens that you can't go wrong with. It's just like, pick your poison, you know? And let me know in the comments below, of course, what your poison is. Like, which one sounds more up your alley? Do you use the original? Did you kind of stop using it like I did? Are you gonna pick up the Flex? Let me know, of course. I am so, so curious. I'll list all these products in the comments below. In the comments? No. In my description box below if you are interested in picking anything up, and also let me know if there's anything from Colorescience that you feel I need to try, because I think it's their matte sunscreen. Okay, thanks for your recommendation. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, click on that notification bell, and send my channel to a friend. Thank you so much for doing all of those things. Really helps to support me so much. I truly appreciate it. Stay tuned for my next video because that will be up in a few days, but until then, I hope you have a great few days.